In the heart of eastern Nigeria, there was a quiet village called Ejid, known far and wide as the village of wise elders. Ejid wasn't a place of riches or mighty warriors. They did not have golden palaces or powerful armies. But Ejid was special for the wisdom of its elders. Wise ones, who had lived long and learned much, held secrets of the past and knowledge of the land that no one else knew. People came from far and near to seek their advice, and no problem was too great or small for these elders to solve. In Ejid, every important decision was made in a special place called the Circle of Elders. This circle was an ancient spot under a giant iroko tree that was older than anyone in the village could remember. The iroko's branches spread wide, casting a cool, shaded area where the elders would gather each morning. There were 13 elders in total, each representing a family in the village, and each one was skilled in a different area of life. Some were known for their knowledge of herbs and medicines, some for understanding the land and seasons, and others for wisdom in family and trade matters. Each elder wore a beaded necklace, symbolizing their role, and they carried a carved staff to represent their authority and experience. One day, trouble began to brew in Ejid. It started small, with people falling ill mysteriously. A few villagers began to suffer from a strange sickness that made their skin feel hot as fire and their heads ache fiercely. Soon, the sickness spread, and more people found themselves bedridden, unable to walk or tend to their daily chores. Crops started to wither in the fields, and animals grew restless, refusing to eat. Some people whispered that it was a curse, while others said it was a punishment from the gods. Fear and uncertainty hung in the air, and the people didn't know what to do. The elders held an urgent meeting under the iroko tree, discussing the cause of the mysterious events. The eldest among them, Elder Okoye, believed that something deeper was at work, something beyond what they could see. He suggested that they needed to perform a ritual to cleanse the village of any curse or evil spirits. But another elder, Mama Chioma, a woman known for her skill in reading the stars, argued that the sickness and troubles could be the work of a sorcerer. Mama Chioma's instincts were rarely wrong, so the elders decided to take both actions. They would cleanse the village while also looking for any sign of dark magic. For 7 days, the villagers and elders performed rituals, lighting fires and offering prayers. They sang songs, clapped hands, and poured water on the ground to purify the land. But despite their efforts, the sickness grew worse, and the crops continued to wither. The villagers became more fearful, and some began to question the elders' wisdom. They had always trusted the elders, but now that trust was beginning to fade. Whispers spread that perhaps the elders had lost their power or were hiding something from the people. During this time, a young man named Namdi, who had just returned from traveling to nearby villages, arrived in Ejid. He was clever and observant, always curious and eager to learn. Namdi noticed the fear in everyone's eyes and the worry etched on their faces, so he decided to go to the circle of elders to find out what was happening. The elders welcomed him, knowing that he had a sharp mind, and listened as he shared his observations. Namdi suggested that the sickness might be coming from a hidden source, something in the land or water. He had heard stories in other villages of poison seeping into wells or of harmful herbs growing in farms without people's knowledge. The elders considered his idea and agreed that it was worth investigating. They split into groups, each elder taking a different area to inspect. They checked the wells, searched the streams, and examined every corner of the farmland. Days passed, and at last, Elder Obi, who was known for his skill in understanding plants, found something troubling. Hidden deep in a corner of one field, he discovered strange, poisonous plants that were not native to their land. The plants had crept in quietly, their roots sneaking into the soil and spreading their poison. The elders uprooted the poisonous plants, burning them and performing prayers to cleanse the land. They hoped this would end the sickness, but the trouble was far from over. Though the sickness seemed to ease, strange things began to happen around the village. At night, people heard footsteps outside their homes and saw shadows darting between the trees. Some claimed they saw glowing eyes in the dark, watching them from the edge of the village. The villagers grew anxious again, convinced that a spirit or a demon was haunting them. Realizing that this problem was beyond what they could see, the elders decided to call upon the village's hidden guardian spirit. Every village in the land had a spirit that watched over it. An Ejid spirit, known as Ozioma, was said to live in a sacred grove far from the village. No one had seen Ozioma for generations, and the path to the grove was forbidden except in times of great need. The elders knew that this was the time to seek Ozioma's help, so they gathered together, preparing themselves for the journey to the grove. On the night of the new moon, the elders set out, carrying offerings of kola nuts, yams, and palm oil. The villagers stayed back, watching from a distance, their hearts pounding with fear and hope. As the elders entered the grove, they could feel a strange presence around them, a feeling of being watched. They knelt before the sacred tree at the heart of the grove, placing their offerings on the ground. The wind grew still, and suddenly, a low voice echoed through the trees, as old as the land itself. Ozioma had appeared to them, though they could not see her form. Ozioma's voice told them that a spirit from another village had entered Ejid, seeking revenge. Many years ago, the elders had helped a neighboring village overcome a great drought, and in the process, they had unknowingly angered an ancient spirit that resided there. This spirit had lain dormant until now, waiting for a chance to strike back. It had entered Ejid disguised in the form of sickness and fear, feeding on the villagers' worries and causing their troubles. Ozioma warned that the spirit could not be defeated easily. It would require a sacrifice of something precious to the village, something that represented its strength and unity. The elders knew immediately what they had to do. The staff they carried, the symbol of their wisdom and power, was the most precious item in the village. Without it, they would no longer be seen as the wise leaders of Ejid. But they also knew that the village's safety was more important than their title. With heavy hearts, the elders placed their staffs before the sacred tree, each elder chanting a prayer for the village's protection. As they completed the ritual, the wind picked up, swirling around them and lifting the staffs into the air. A bright light burst forth from the staffs, blinding them for a moment. When the light faded, the staffs were gone, and the grove was silent once more. Ozioma's voice spoke again, assuring them that the spirit had been driven away and that Ejid would be safe. The elders returned to the village without their staffs, and when the villagers saw them, they knew a great sacrifice had been made. From that day on, the people respected the elders not for their symbols of power, but for their courage and selflessness. The sickness faded, the crops flourished once again, and peace returned to Ejid.